11th, 1988. This is Joe Todd, an interview with Billy Warwick in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Where were you born?
Welch, Oklahoma.
Welch, Oklahoma. And when's your birthday?
November the 1st, 1919.
November 1st, 1919. Okay. Who was your father?
W. Warwick.
And your mother?
Mary Warwick.
What was her maiden name?
Peel. P-E-A-L-E.
P-E-A-L-E. Were they both from Oklahoma, your folks?
Yeah.
What kind of work did your father do?
He raised cattle and had a grocery store.
In Welch?
He had a grocery store in Welch 21 years and one in Dewey for 20 years. 20 years and 6 months in Dewey.
Did you work in the store there when you were a kid?
After school, yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you start to school?
When did I teach school?
No, when did you start when you were a kid?
I started at Welch.
Welch?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that east of here?
Yeah, it's 11 miles. Is that thing on now?
Yeah.
It's 11 miles west of Miami, Oklahoma.
Okay. And what year did you graduate from high school?
1937.
1937. At Welch?
At Dewey.
Oh, Dewey. Okay.
Moved to Dewey in 34.
34. Why'd the family move to Dewey?
Because all the crops dried up and flowed away, and they had a store and cattle, they raised cattle in Welch, and so that's when he decided to come to Dewey. It was a payroll there, a cement plant. Phillips had a small payroll here in 34, not real big, but they had a started deal pretty good. And they had TRW, I think it was, and it was a small place too, with no payrolls in Welch.
So, the family survived the Depression okay with the store?
Yep. 5 of us kids and my 2 cousins.
So, when did you join the Navy?
October the 9th, 1937.
1937. Where'd you go for boot camp?
San Diego.
Tell me about boot camp. What happened there?
The first day I was there, Johnny Farrell had been in the Navy before, or been around Navy men, and there was, this is a funny deal. This guy had a gold hash marks on. He was a boatswain mate, and he had four gold hash marks on. And so that's Friday morning, and the first day I was in the Navy, it's Friday morning, they gave us an apple and pork and beans for breakfast and coffee, or powdered milk, you know. Things are so hard, they didn't have much money to buy food with. But anyway, it'd get a little better in 37. But so Johnny Farrell told me, well, his real name is Johnny Scotcher Farrell. He went to court in Channesville after World War II. And anyway, he said, go over and tell that admiral that we don't eat stuff like this for breakfast. And I said, well, okay, I'll go tell him. I was say, Admiral, we don't eat stuff like this where I come from for breakfast. Man, he bothered and squalled at me and took off. And I didn't know what it was all about, you know. I didn't know you couldn't go over and talk to somebody that way. I still had civilian clothes on, you know. And anyway, we were ready to leave. Well, I saw him pointing me out to a bugler first class. Got us all lined up out there and said, well, we got a smile at the crowd. And he said, we're going to have to teach him a lesson today. The first day here, you'll all get a lesson. So they're going to march us down to where the issues are closed, you know, and give some shots and things like that. And this is the first time I went in the Navy, and he stopped the gymnasium. And it was all marching in, 2 in a file, you know, and said, the chief, who the smart aleck called Admiral, didn't say who it was, you know. They got us all in there and set it down. Then they called me up, or you know, at the front, and he said, "Are you want to get in the ring?" He said, "Or you want me to give you bread and water, or take you to court martial, something like that?" I said, "Well, that's good and fine with me. Whatever you want to do is okay to me." Johnny Farrell said, "Let him win now." I said, "If you don't, you'll just have another one." I said, I ain't gonna let him win if I can help it. I said, I'm gonna win. I said, I'm gonna die winning if I can. So he was just a lot of mouth, you know, and I put it on him. And so some officers come by and seen us all going there, and they come in and they stopped it. And so we got back to the barracks and they started issuing his clothes, and here come a guy. He was I don't remember, I think he was a bugler or boatswain mate. And he said, "You Warwick?" I said, "Right." He said, "Oh, you're the smart so-and-so and this and that." I said, "Well, what you trying to do, pick a fight with me?" So we just wasn't afraid of nobody, you know. Me or Johnny Farrell, either one. We'd matched a lot of guys, been in the ring a lot of time, you know. And so, I mean, pro, you know. And so I said, "If you want to tackle me, well, that's all right." I said, "I ain't going to back down no time." So up to him, no, Johnny Farrell told me, he said, "Let him win." He said, "If you don't, he's going to get you." And I said, "No, I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do it." So I whipped him that day, same day. And that night, they put me on the clothesline watch from 8 to 12. And they just got to bed and woke me up again at 2, or 1:30. Got to bed at 12, woke up at 1:30, go on and watch again at 2. And then the next morning, they had all doing this and that, and had us hold rifles out. And so they got me out there to see how long they could hold it, you know. And so most of the guys got down, but I'd been working my arms a long time. I kept holding the rifle. And so he made a couple of remarks about it, and I didn't say anything. And then that night, I was on clothesline watch again. It wasn't nothing on the clothesline. Had me out there with the rifle. Clothesline watch, 8 to 12. Got off back 2 again. So the third day, I asked a guy there, I said, "Who's the head consul around here? I'm going to go see him." I said, "This ain't right." I said, so this guy told me who it was. The name of Commodore Blackburn. He was, I remember his name very well. Said, "I don't think you can get in to see him." So I went up there and I looked and I saw a sign back there, you know, Commodore Blackburn. I went around by everybody, just tried to start. I went on by one and I said, "Admiral, something going on right now. I don't think you know what it is." But I said, "I've been on the clothesline watch for 2 nights straight. 2 guys tried to whip me, and all I'd done is told a guy would eat stuff like that for breakfast." And I said, "This got to quit because I can't go day and night without sleep." And he said, "What is all this about?" And so I told him the whole story. He said, "Go back, son. Everything will be all right. Just won't be no more." I said, "There won't be no more of that." From then on, they treated me real nice. But I'm kind of hard-headed, you know. I just can't stand for somebody to run over me. Maybe it stems from back to the time I was a kid. I always been little, you know. And in fact, I weighed 128 for 40 years, you know. Never
When did you start boxing?
When I was 9, they said it was a sign on a telephone post, and it said Craig County would give $5 to each man that fights in a tournament, the American Legion in World War I in Miami, Oklahoma. So I started running every morning and every afternoon to school and back and this and that. And I told my dad, and he said, "Well, he couldn't close the store till 9. This starts at 7 o'clock, and he couldn't take me." He said, "But you can ride your horse, you know, out to Bradshaw's house and leave him there, and you walk the rest of the way if you want to go." Now, $5 is 2 weeks' wages. Say, 50 cents a day. That's 2 weeks' wages. So he said, "You can go over there if you want to." And so I walked over there, and I weighed in, and I was 9 years old. And he had to be 10. This is in October, but I wouldn't be 10 in November. This is in October, the 10th or 15th, along in there. And I liked about 20 or 25 days being 10 years old. So I told him I was born in 1918, and I was born in 1919. They may be 10 years old. So the first kid come out, a lot of daddies made their kids fight for $5 because they feed the family for 2 weeks on $5. And several little boys cried and said, "Daddy, I don't want to box." And then make them box. I thought that was awful cruel, you know. But anyway, this first kid come out, and I slowed him hard. See, I worked hard on this cattle, feeding cattle and shelling corn and hand turn, all that stuff. So I knocked this kid down the first blow, and he started crying. And when I was a kid, you just didn't cry, you know. If you get hurt, you just didn't cry. But anyway, I wouldn't get out of the ring, and they tried to put 2 more guys come in. I went and pushed them out, and he said, "You get your $5." I said, "I know, but I've been running and working out for this, and I've been going to neighbors and boxing every boys and everything." And I said, I want to fight again." I said, "That ain't fair, just 1 punch." So they got another guy, and he lasted 3 punches. And that was $10 I made. See, that's a lot of money. That's 4 weeks' wages. So they tried to get me out, and I wouldn't get out. So the American Legion guys in World War I said, let's get somebody and put the whip on that boy so we can get on to this tournament." See, said he's already made $10. And so this guy was 16 years old, and I'll never forget his name. His name was Sonny Patrick. He died on the Ford Garage in Miami. And he beat me to death the first 2 rounds. I mean, he was 16 years old, and I wasn't practically 10. I wasn't 10 yet, like a few days, you know. A lot of difference, 10 to 16. But anyway, this guy gave me water. Said he's wore out now. He's been whipping you so bad that he just wore clear out. Said why don't you really go at him strong, just like you've been going? I said I will. I went out and I knocked him out. I knocked him out in the third round. They had to stop the fight, and he didn't cry, but it knocked him cold, you know. But anyway, I was pretty strong when I was a kid, you know, from exercise and work and everything. But anyway, the first night I went in the ring, I made $15, and that's 6 weeks' wages. So I bought a bridle from a horse, and a pair of boots, you know. My other boots about wore out. That was it. That was the first time I went in the ring.
Yeah. And you kept on boxing then?
Oh yeah, I kept on boxing after
Now,
that.
you said did you have any pro fights before you joined the Navy? Professional
Yeah.
fights?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you box?
All Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Santa Barbara, Wilmington, Oklahoma. I mean Wilmington, California, between San Pedro and Long Beach, a place called the Sugar Bowl in Long Beach, L.A., different places.
What was your record?
I don't even know. I had about 149 professional fights. And after World War II, I gave it up. And then I started teaching. I taught high school band in Dewey after World War II. I believe it was 46 and 47. And 47. And I had taught high school boxing in Dewey, and I've had a team about ever since. And I was with the Worcester County team. Worcester County Sheriff's Department is 3 years, but with Copan 8 years, and I had teams, other teams before that.
How long did boot camp last?
3 months.
3 months.
Then I went from there aboard the ship, and they took us to Long Beach, or San Pedro, which it was, there in the harbor, and we called the Oklahoma.
What did you think when you first saw the Oklahoma?
I thought it was an awful big ship.
What was your duty on the Oklahoma when you first went aboard?
I was seaman.
Seaman?
Yeah.
Had they already redone the Oklahoma, made it into an oil burner at that time?
I'd redone it.
Yeah, it was a coal burner when it was built. Was it an oil burner when you went on board?
It's all burner when I went aboard.
Okay, so they'd already...
Yeah, we never had no oil to go anyplace. I did go 3 places. I went to Honolulu, and went to Seattle and Vancouver, Alaska. I went to the Centennial in Vancouver, Canada, and I went to down south by South America. Went on the thing. 3 cruisers on it.
Where were your quarters on the ship?
What?
Where were your quarters on the ship?
Let's see, it was midship on port side.
What type of quarters did you have? What kind of bunk? Did you have
Just
a bunk?
had water bunks. Or there'd be 3 on a post,
Yeah.
and you just hang it down. And the one above, he could put his up or down, either one. But you could set up your short. You know, you could. Now Carrier, they was so short. He's about 6'4". His feet was hanging over the end of it all the time in the boat.
So you were a seaman. You were trained to do what on the ship?
I don't know. They just chip paint off and paint it back again, chip it off and paint it back again. And so I went down the band and tried out for the band and got in the band. See, when I was up over the Welch as a kid, well, the man, say I moved to Dewey when I was 14. But when I was about 10, 11 years old, this man, I run the telephone office, and I mowed his lawn for bell lessons and drum lessons. And that's where I became a musician. I started to be a musician. I come to Dewey, I tried out and got in the band there, see. And in fact, after World War II, I taught high school band in Dewey 1 year, but I made more money in the end, guaranteed me more money than I was making teaching band, so when the insurance company.
Musician first class.
Huh?
Musician first class.
I was right. Yeah, I made musician first class. Study off
First
for
class.
yeah.
What does the band do in a battleship?
Well, they play concerts and they play for dances and they have concerts on the fantail and they all had their battle positions. You know, on the Oklahoma, I was number. On the Oklahoma, I number 1 turret, and I was a trader.
Which is number 1 turret?
That's the one the warrior on the front. There's 1, 2, 3, and the back's 4, 5, 6. No, back's 4, 5, just 5, I guess it is.
So you were number 1 turret.
Number 1 turret.
What was your duty station at general quarters? What'd you do?
Number 1 turret.
I mean, were you
Trainer.
a gunner?
Huh?
Were you a gunner, or what'd you do in the turret?
Well, I trained this ship left to right. The 3 guns, and I turned this wheel, turned it left to right. And Johnny Farrell, he turned it up and down. He was a pointer. He was a pointer, and I was a trainer.
Okay. Whenever they called general quarters, how long did it take to get to your battle station?
Well, let's see. Had to go up starboard. I'd say about a minute.
About a minute?
If I was in my living quarter, because I'm just a little after midship on the starboard side, and all I had to do is go up the starboard ladder, go forward on the starboard side, and down underneath and up in the turret.
Okay. And your quarters were you 1 deck down or 2?
My living quarters
Yeah.
was 1 deck down from main deck aft.
Now aft.
When I went up the Jacob ladder, one layer, I was on main deck aft. Just a few feet forward was midship, but I was on main deck aft starboard side.
Who was the captain of the ship when you were on board?
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
Whenever you're out at sea, what's your average day when you're at sea? What you do? Like when you went to Honolulu or up to Alaska?
They had us, in the mornings, they all had us clean the decks, I'm talking about in peacetime,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then most of them have us painting a compartment or doing this or doing that or having drills or gun practice. 12 millimeter, it was 50 caliber, I think it was. They'd pull the sleeve behind a plane, to shoot the sleeve.
Tell me about that when you shoot the sleeve. What is that?
A sleeve is kind of like those things that happen on the airport that the wind blows through, and it's a long cloth tube,
Yeah.
They pull a big one like that behind an airplane, and you shoot that 50 caliber.
Are you pretty good at it?
I didn't shoot the 50 caliber, I was on a main turret. They had the 5-inch practicing on that, and the 50 caliber, but didn't have any.
Someone told me they also pulled the target sign behind the ship, and you would shoot the target.
On a kind of like a boat, a barge. They pull a target on there. They shoot with the 5-inch. Yeah.
Do you ever practice with the guns you were on?
No, not the 16-inch.
Yeah. How do you load those guns, 16-inch guns?
Well, it has a hydraulic lift back there and just lifts it up, and then they have a hydraulic plunger that pushes the 16-inch shell in. It's about this tall,
Yeah.
not big around.
Where's the magazine for those shells? Is it just below the turret?
Yeah, below the turret. Come up on elevators, yeah.
Now, when the Arizona blew up, is that what happened? The bomb hit the magazine there, or what happened?
It hit the magazine room, I imagine.
Yeah.
Or hit the boiler. I don't know.
And were you at Washington, Seattle when they lost the anchor? The Oklahoma lost an anchor up there.
Yeah, that was in. I think that was in Canada.
In Canada?
Where somebody come out and cut it loose with a welding torch, underwater welding torch, and it had floated in. If it floated in within the 3-mile range or something like that, well, they'd had it till the war was over. Just about time before the war was declared, though. That was in Seattle. No, that was in Canada where they lost the anchor.
So how long were you there without an anchor before you realized it?
I don't know. I remember we lost anchor and then put ashore in Canada, Vancouver, Canada. The Centennial was going on up when we went up there for that.
Why'd they cut the anchor? Well, tell me about the Centennial up there in Vancouver. Were you given liberty up there?
Yeah. Yeah, we went ashore. In fact, me and 4 other boys rented a horse, a piece, went riding, and one I had wouldn't get along the edge of the water, but I rode horses all my life, when I was 5, 6 years old, I was riding horses, and we always had a lot of horses. But anyway, I couldn't get this horse going the edge of the ocean. There's 4 or 5 of us riding along the ocean. So they all bet me $1 and I couldn't get him in the water, and I kept trying, I couldn't get him in the water. I said, well, it's best not over yet. I said, you didn't say it in the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I said, no. So the pier down there went out in the water quite a ways. So I said, let's go right down here. I know where I gave him the water. Went down, I got on this pier to holler, look out, here it come on that horse, fast as go, got the end, he couldn't stop. He went on through that railing in about 40 foot of water. He swam all right. I got in the water, I won the dollar. But I jumped, it was about 20 feet there where he jumped in, 20 feet high, no longer than that, about 30 feet high out there. And I jumped in that water because I held on, I went to the side and held on the saddle horn. And that's the way I always swam a horse leading across the river back home or something. When I always held on the saddle horn. And I held on the saddle horn and we hit the water. When he come up, he swam toward the bank. But I won my dollar.
Did he go back in the water again, or?
No. When I took it back, that guy, I thought he was going to charge me extra getting that horse wet and that saddle all wet. But I said he wouldn't go in the water if I jumped him in the water.
Hey, and how long were you on the Oklahoma?
Let's see. I was in 3 years and 21 days. I was on a kid cruise. See, we didn't hardly ever go in a place. In other words, we get off Friday at noon, didn't have to come back. Sometimes at 8 o'clock, sometimes at noon, didn't have to come back till Monday morning. We sat there in Long Beach or San Pedro for months at a time. Didn't have no money for oil to go in a place. See.
Where'd you take your meals on the ship?
What'd I think of the meal?
No, where'd you take your meals? Would you? You have a mess hall
different compartments. You know, we ate midship on the starboard side. They had about 8 tables set up in there for our meals. You know.
So how many men ate in your mess hall there?
There'd be
in the galley?
10 to a table, 5 on each side.
Mm-hmm. Were those permanent tables or were they moved?
No, they had to fold them up. No, there's 4 on each side. There's 8 at a table. No, they had a little long bench along as a table, and they had a table that the legs folded up and they hooked it up on the overhead. See.
Okay. I'd like to get just a general description of the Oklahoma. The inside of the ship, you know, the different compartments. If that's a fair question.
Well, it's kind of hard to describe. Where my bunk was, there's 3 bunks on this side of the 2 posts and 3 bunks on that side. Just over from here to that box was a round, big cogwheel covered so you couldn't get your clothes or hands or anything in it, you know. And when you turned away, that thing's all the time turning, you know. It stirred the ship with it, you know. And that thing made noise all night long. The first 2 or 3 nights you're going, it took a couple nights to get used to it, you know. That'd go back and forth. It's as big around as that couch, you know.
Yeah.
This wheel was.
Now, what did that turn? What did that wheel turn?
It turned the rudder.
Okay. Yeah. We have a wheel on display in the museum. This great big huge steering wheel. And someone said that's the emergency steering wheel.
That is down in stern room aft, yeah.
Okay.
That's down in stern room aft. That's 2 decks below. Let's see. Don't count the top deck. It'd be 2nd, 3rd, 4th. That's the 4th deck, way down in stern room aft, yeah.
Okay, now what's that wheel used for?
In case the top of it got blown off, they could use that one to stir the ship with. By telephone, and they could tell the guy down there if it was still in the working order which way to turn the ship, you know.
How long was the Oklahoma?
I can't answer that. I don't remember.
Okay, what's in the very bottom of the ship? Down the very bottom.
Bilge.
Bilge.
In other words, had different compartments. There was a deck down there, and then you pull up this lid, and you can see down there there'd be a little water around it down in there, you know, where it was leaking. But they also had pumps to pump it out if it started leaking too bad.
Okay, and what's the next deck up?
That's a graded deck where the see what they call them, firemen worked, you know. Firemen, them was the guys that shot the oil of the ship and kept the temperature and the steam gauge right and everything.
And then above that?
See, above that was different compartments and living quarters, and the forward was the officers' quarters where they had private rooms, you know. It was forward on the first 2 decks down from the top deck, and then the seaman was up in that area too.
Okay, now how many decks on the
I'm not for sure. I'd say there's 4 decks, I think. Counting the top deck,
Yeah.
is 4 decks.
Okay. What type of armor do they have on the Oklahoma? How
They-
thick was the armor?
What kind of armor?
Yeah.
It was a steel, I guess you call it a belt, all the way around the ship. It was about this far out from the other ledge. Like we caught a shark one time and drug up on the blister ledge, drug it up on there, had to cut his throat and let it back in the water, and all them sharks was fighting. The skipper saw what was going on, made us stop, you know.
Now, what's the blister ledge?
Huh?
What's the blister ledge?
A blister ledge is steel, like his ship. There's a, right along the, just by the water line, below the water line's a big steel bridge there.
Yeah.
Bridge lead. And it's thick, and it's heavy steel, and they have they store all in there, and they store well, I guess that's about it all. In other words, if it hit it, it's supposed to be a lot thicker, and they have double reinforcements, but that didn't stop them from coming down through the top, though.
So whenever, is that for protection against like torpedoes, whatever?
Yeah.
that-
It went, they said it's unsinkable, but it sunk pretty quick. Of course,
Yeah.
it went right on through the top, you know. Went right through the decks, which were just steel that thick, you know, through the decks, you know.
And now, was it sunk by bombs or torpedoes?
Huh?
Was it Oklahoma sunk by the torpedoes or by the bombs? What?
I don't know. I think it's both.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there at the time, you know.
Yeah.
It's both, I'm pretty sure.
So, when did you get your first discharge? Or when did you get out of the Navy?
I got out a day before I was 21. So that was October the 30th, I guess, or 31st.
1940?
Yeah, 1940, got it.
Okay. And what'd you do?
No, let's say October 40. Then we broke out 41, yeah. Yeah, I was out about near 10 months.
So what'd you do from there until you rejoined that year?
I worked in, now I come back to Coffeyville, Kansas. I come back to Dewey. I went to Coffeyville and bought a grocery store out. Had it for about 3 months, and I made good money. I made a living, but I couldn't stand. Just had to get outside sometimes. I thought the walls caving in on me. So I went back to California, and I worked out there for. Can't remember the name of the manufacturing plant, but I run a lathe out there till the war broke out. And the war broke out. Well, I worked 8 to 4, I guess it was. And then.
And where were you working?
Norris Manufacturing.
And you ran a lathe?
Run a lathe. Yeah.
Well,
New Bentley Goodland lathe.
Yeah, what were you making?
I think it's $4 an hour, $4.50 an hour. But
When you heard about Pearl Harbor, what was your first reaction?
I thought it was Orson Welles pulling one of those deals like he pulled about a year before that. I told the old boy I was boxing, I said, that's Orson Welles putting that stuff on, but I heard all those sirens going, you know, and I said, listen to that radio again. Went over and listened to the radio. I was getting double pay. This was Sunday, you know, and anyway, getting to hear all those sirens, I knew something going on, so we called it all off. We'd about through working out anyway. He paid me double on account of Sunday, you know, and I got home while I saw the police and the National Guard was picking up Japanese citizens, you know, American citizens, those Japanese. And some folks right across the street from us where I was living, and he was Japanese, and they had a cafe, and they were real nice people. They picked him up too.
Now, where were you living at this time?
I live on Figueroa in L.A.
In L.A. When you heard that the Oklahoma was sunk,
I couldn't believe it. They said it was unsinkable, you know, but I did believe it, yeah.
what was your reaction?
Well, we all got together and went down Monday morning. We all got together and went down to join, you know.
Can I stop that clock?
Huh?
Can I stop that clock?
Yeah.
It's just about to. This thing will pick it up. I'll set it back when I'm through.
Okay, is that thing going right now?
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
turn
shut
on
it
and
off.
get me some coffee here.
Yeah. Let me see. You joined the Navy and you went aboard.
When World War II, you mean?
Yeah.
I went aboard. We went straight from New York, went from Los Angeles to New York, and went aboard. Went to 51st Street Receiving Station. Waited to get the bunks fixed on the light cruiser, and went aboard the USS Atlanta light cruiser. And I was a seaman. I went in there as a seaman, and they got a flag band on there, and so I went in and tried out for the band, got and went into the band then.
And how long were you on the Atlanta?
About 9 months. Then the band got transferred off, and got sent back to New York. And then I got aboard the, New York. Sent me someplace. It was in the Pacific. I got transferred to Texas.
Now you said that you sunk a submarine. Was that aboard the Atlanta?
That was Atlanta. We left. I was on the East Coast. Yeah.
What happened there?
They picked me up on the radar, and I don't think they ever shot at us. We shot at them, and it finally bloated half in two, and half of it floated up. And a landing crew went over there, and some guys in there, it was Japanese, and they had tickets in their pocket from Roland Dance Hall in New York City. You had stubs, or you pay. You buy 6 tickets for a quarter, and you get 6 dances for a quarter. And they had in their pockets, some of them in their pockets, see, it blowed the sub half in two, and one half flowed like a cork. So boarding crew went aboard, and they found them in their pockets, But it finally sunk because it filled up the water seal.
You tell me again the story about this guy that was on the Oklahoma and the Japanese shooting at him.
Oh, that was a Bill Carrier. They was starting to go off in Oklahoma on the main deck aft, and there was a gangplank there was still reaching. It'd slide forwards and backs as tide goes up and down. The gangplank go forward and back, and they started to run down. And I noticed that there was Japs down there with a 50 caliber machine gun, or American 50 caliber machine gun, and American Japanese was shooting them as they come down the gangplank. So much shooting going on anyway that you couldn't tell what was going on here or there, and bombs are dropping and planes are going and guns are shooting, But anyway, Carrier and Tater and another fellow, he didn't tell me who the other fellow was. For some reason, he didn't want to tell me. And anyway, Al Ware was one of the guys. He lives in Louisiana someplace. He was a sax player in the band. But anyway, he went around and jumped off from the other side of the ship and swam around. And Tater got shot in the leg, but he got an infection or something and he lost his leg. But they come around and come back behind the 2 Japanese.
And they killed him?
Yeah. They didn't put stuff like that in the paper. Like Carrier said, they had those cane fields cut with Moors, arrows, just how to come in. They come over this hill and come over this hill or in this valley. They'd have them mowed like this and an arrow like this, which way for them dive bombers to go through there and torpedoes, Had
So
it
they
all
had the way
set up.
marked for it.
Sell out. The American Japanese sold out, and there could have been some Americans in on it. I don't know about that. But
Where in Louisiana does he live? Do you know?
who's got Johnny Farrell?
You said Mr. Ware from Louisiana?
Scotchy Farrell's from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Yeah, he lives in Jacksonville, Florida now.
Oh, he's in Florida.
He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. I believe he was I'm not positive, but he was either the 13th or 14th man alive to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. Alive to receive it.
Did he get it for the Oklahoma?
I believe he got it for the Atlanta, and also for when he went to have a bird up the North Pole. He saved somebody's life up there, named Johnny Farrell. I got his address and phone number and everything.
Yeah. And is he the one that talked about the cane fields?
No, He wasn't in the one told me about the cane, but he wasn't that. He was me.
Yeah.
He wasn't at Pearl Harbor.
Oh, okay.
He got off in Okie and come to where I was living there in L.A.
Okay. Who was the one that talked about the cane fields?
Several guys told me that. West, for instance, a red-headed boy, big article about him in the Life magazine here about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, big article for him. Maybe it's 20 years ago. He was out selling fuller brush, you know. He was in the bottom of the Oklahoma and turned up. Even the stern and aft, but they cut him out. They got out.
Where does he live?
He lives in California.
California.
Don't have his address. His name was West. Redhead boy, played sax.
What's his last name? You know?
Huh?
What's his last name?
West.
West.
Mhm.
Okay.
He was on the Oklahoma when it was bombed. Carrier was on the Oklahoma when it was bombed. I don't know who all was on there when it was bombed. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to interview some of those guys in Kansas City.
You are?
Yeah.
Well, Al Ware, he lives in Florida someplace. He might be there. I don't know.
Tell me about being on the Texas and the different battles the Texas was in.
Well, the battles I was in was going to Meredith, Russia. In other words, we come out of Greenwich, Scotland, and to me it's north. They had along the coast of Norway, you know, and all around to Meredith, Russia. And they'd hit us at daylight, and we going this way. They come hit us here, then go up here, and they'd refuel. And time we get up there, they come back out again. They hit us all day long.
These are Germans?
Yeah. We was taking a convoy to Meredith, Russia, see. And we got in so close to Russia, there's come out, I believe there's called MiGs. They come out and took over then.
So, what'd you do during that battle? What happened?
I shot 12 millimeter.
And how long that battle last?
It lasted for about 3 days.
3 days?
Till we got in range where the Russians could be umbrella for us. And the Americans went as far as they could go, you know. We'd have about 3 days that was on our own, you know.
What kind of ships the Germans had?
The Germans didn't have ships, they was bombers.
Oh, they were bombers?
Super bombers, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. One old boy come cruising in like this and held his two fingers up for V for victory and shot his plane right straight nose, right straight up in the air, and she just sunk right down tail first and he jumped out and then held his hands up for V for victory. But we didn't pick him up, but I think a destroyer behind us picked him up, you know. He gave up.
He did?
But I tell you, there wasn't supposed to be any pets in the Navy, but I'll tell you something happened on the Oklahoma was funny. They had a monkey as a pet, picked him up in the Panama Canal, and I don't know where they picked him up at. I'll take that back. I was another ship I went on through the Panama Canal. But anyway, this monkey, they'd put out banana out on each plate when they get the mess hall gets set up to eat, you know, and we eat in casemates where there's 5-inch side battery, you know, 5-inch turret guns. And this monkey would come down there and grab a banana or two and run, you know, you couldn't catch him, you know. But anyway, some guys got together, I think it's Johnny Farrell and somebody else. They took this grease, there was a radio line cable that run from the forward mast to the aft mast, run along there. This monkey would go up so high and get on the spud shack and then jump up and get on and hit that cable and run down that cable to that mast over there, and they could go up the crow's nest if they wanted to. And anyway, they would put heavy grease all over that. So this monkey that morning we go having banana. I think we got bananas on certain days in the week in the mornings, you know. And he grabbed a couple of bananas and took off, and he run, hit that wire, and he went sliding around and hit that main mast, and knocked him unconscious, and he fell down. Might never killed him. He lived over to it, though. That monkey never stole no more bananas.
Who did he belong to, that monkey?
I don't know who he belonged to, just the ship's mascot.
Yeah.
They wasn't supposed to have any pets, you know, but he wasn't exactly a pet. He was mean. He'd bite you, you'd grab hold of him.
What did the officers think about him? Or did they ignore
I don't
him?
know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember that captain's name on the Oklahoma, but he made some of those orderlies. When I went aboard the Oklahoma, you might not want this on tape, but they had two fountains. One that said white only. The other, most like on the midship on the port side, was white drinking fountains. There's about 6 fountains there. On the starboard side, there's 6 more fountains, and that's they colored.
How many black guys were on Oklahoma?
I don't know, there may be 10, 12. There's all orders.
No, was Foy the captain at that time? Was it Foy? Was that his name? Foy was on the Oklahoma when it was at Pearl Harbor. F-O-Y.
Well, no, he wasn't. He could have been the one. I don't know. Maybe he was. He was kind of a little fellow about my size, but I just don't know.
Can you just relate some incidents you remember when you were on the Oklahoma? Things stick out in your mind.
No. Oh, I know one time they. Well, yeah, I was working out in a casemate there one day, and some young little boy come up and wanted to know if he could balk me, and I said, well, I'll be okay. He said, you just want to work out? I said, I won't. I'll take it easy with you. He put a turtle whipping on me. I don't know who it was, but I never did see him aboard. He was on there for, I think was taking a midshipman cruise to Honolulu. I think he was a midshipman. Just a young looking boy.
That's the Annapolis guys?
Huh?
That's the guys from Annapolis Naval Academy? Is that the midshipman?
Yeah, they was taking them on a 30-day cruise, you know.
What do you do when a midshipman cruise?
Well, they'd have drills for those midshipmen and everything, and we showed them how to work the 5-inch guns, the 16-inch guns, and 50 caliber.
What's a casemate?
What?
What's a casemate?
Casemate's a compartment like this room here, not much bigger than this room, and there's windows that slide shut, so the ocean, big waves, water can't come in. But you can take them off, and you can shoot the guns out the side. They're called casemates, and they're on. There's 3 on each side of the ship. They can't fire forward. They can't fire any far about this angle. But the ship, from north end to far, the big turrets can turn a little bit this way, and the ship can turn a little bit to starboard, and the side one can shoot, and the front ones can shoot. And then they swing back this way, and these shoot, them shoot, and then still the first 3 turrets can shoot, and maybe they turn enough to the port. The number 4 could shoot if they got, well, it'd be too much sideways, then they wouldn't turn that far. But
yeah. What deck are those casemates on?
main deck.
Now the main deck, is that top ship or that?
Yeah, it's the top. The main walking deck you walk on, you know, that's had wood on it until the war broke out, you know, and then they come steel. Well, it's steel anyway, but the wood over the steel in peacetime. Took wood off during the wartime because caused splinters, you know.
So the casemate deck, that is the main deck then?
Yeah, but you have to go up one layer, you have to go up 1 story, and then you have 2 casemates, and 1 in front and 1 here is on the main deck. 1 on the main deck, 2 up 1 deck, and then go down, there's 1 on the other deck. Seems like there's 4 on both sides.
You know, do all of them have these windows in front of them?
Yeah, they're not windows, they're made out of steel though, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, anything else about the Oklahoma?
No, except there's a pretty nice bunch of fellas on there, you know, and I recognize a lot of them when it's in Oklahoma City, you know, and some I didn't recognize. Now I'm the same size now. Well, I'd say I'm about 131, 132 now. I was 128 then, so not much difference. But a lot of them recognize me that I didn't recognize them, or they got big or heavy set or something like that.
Yeah, I just talked to a guy in Norman. His name is Mr. Maddox, and he's on the Oklahoma World War I. He went aboard in 1917, and he was on it for.
Went aboard before I was born.
Yeah, he was on it 1917 through 1919. And he had some good stories about the Oklahoma then, when it was still a gold burner.
Yeah.
How long were you on the Texas?
Let's see. I was over a year. I can't tell you for sure.
Besides the trip to Russia.
Huh?
Besides that one trip to Meredith, Russia.
That was Texas. I went to Meredith, Russia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other battles you were involved in besides that one?
No.
Texas.
No.
How much damage did Texas take at that time?
I don't remember for sure. It seemed like if I remember right, I got a firebomb on their starboard forward starboard side. That's a sulfur bomb, you know, what they call a firebomb is a sulfur bomb. That's about all I remember about it. I know it was cold, and I got in trouble on one trip. I back here in that in the bar bed. It's a steel about this high, about that thick, and it goes around your 12 millimeters. See, and they served some. Oh, it was raining and sleeting and cold, and they didn't bring us any food. And so I told the guy, it got dark. It's starting just about dark, and I said, man, we ain't had anything to eat down here all day, you know. Shooting off and on, you know, they'd come and go, and here they come in a whole bunch of them. But anyway, I went up for the galley and get some sandwiches on the Texas. Hearing old boy squall and hollered at me, and I said, well, we didn't have nothing to eat back. We'll get them, so you wait till your turn. I said, turn hell, everybody's ate but us. And I said, I'm taking these sandwiches. He wasn't going to let me take them, and I put it on him. And so when he got back to Greenwich, Scotland, well, brought me up to Mask, you know, and I told him what happened. And I said, my way I always read it in the manual that you can't get arrested for stealing food as long as you eat it. I admit I took it without authority, but we ate it. We was hungry. We hadn't anything to eat. So dismiss this case. Get out here, all you guys. But that cook in there, he was kind of being over guarded. You know, I know there's low on food, but see, all England gave us was rotten potatoes. You know, we didn't have much food. You know, got so we ate twice a day.
And where did that happen? Where were you?
Going to Russia.
That's on the way to Russia.
Yeah.
How many dive bombers attacked the Texas at that?
I don't know. Lots of them.
And you say you just took that one bomb.
That's all I remember. Yeah, it was that one. Of course, there's a lot of scraping going on. You know, they scraped. I think I don't know what caliber's in their wings, but it seemed like there's about 4 of them. I guess they did quite a bit of scraping. You know.
Anyone hurt or killed in those?
Well, some guy got hurt.
And where's your battle station?
On main deck aft.
Main deck aft.
On the starboard side in a barbette, 20 caliber machine gun. Not machine gun, 20 caliber. They shoot, you know, kind of like a automatic shotgun on, not quite as fast, you know.
And what's that gun used for? What's
airplanes?
Anti-aircraft?
Yeah, aircraft. Yeah.
You shoot any of those planes down that were attacking the?
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of them went down.
Well, what'd you do when the war was over? You have a celebration?
Well, I got transferred on to Texas to Newport, Rhode Island, and I had my rate changed, you know, and I took the test, and they told me in Newport, Rhode Island that you couldn't be a first-class petty officer musician unless you went to music school in Washington, D.C. I said, well, you just had to send me to music school because I ain't going to go back to seaman, you know. I mean, to a boatswain. So he said, well, you have to go to Washington, D.C. I said, well, I didn't have much time to do, see. And I said, well, that's where I'll go. And so I went to Washington, D.C. to the School of Music. I was there. I took a refresher course. I was there 3 months, 21 days. Then I got sent over to Bainbridge, Maryland, and got out, see.
Tell me, now you were in the band on the Texas also?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went aboard the ship on the Texas in the band.
In the band.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what the band do. What does the band do during wartime on a ship?
Well, they all have battle stations like everybody else.
Okay, when you're not in battle, do you still play concerts and all that, or?
Oh yeah, normal conditions. They play concerts and music and concerts, different things.
Are you familiar with the silver service that was on the Oklahoma?
The silver service.
Yeah, that sterling silver
Oh,
collection.
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you ever polish it?
No.
Yeah, we have it on display in Oklahoma City now.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're at the museum.
We had anchored down the street for a while.
Yeah,
so
it's still there. Yeah, we have it. Well, I think we have a good interview right now. I may like to come back sometime and finish up when we have more time.
Be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.